Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you started to disappear inside the effort of being enough for them? We spend so much of our lives performing, trying to earn affection, prove our value, convince someone that we're worthy of staying. But the truth is, love that is meant for you doesn't come through performance. It comes through recognition. The person God sends your way will not fall in love with your RA, your potential, or your perfection. They will fall in love with your presence. And in that presence, you won't have to prove anything. Because real love doesn't ask you to audition for it. We are often told that love should feel like pursuit, that it should come with the thrill of uncertainty, the chase, the adrenaline of wanting what you can't quite have. But when you have to constantly chase love, it starts to shape you. You begin to mistake anxiety for passion, silence for mystery, inconsistency for depth. You start to believe that love is something you must earn through effort, through convincing, through the endless dance of trying to be enough. Yet, the love that is meant for you, the love that is divinely aligned with your spirit, does not ask you to exhaust yourself to prove it exists. It does not require you to chase, it invites you to rest. The person God sends for you won't need you to run after them. They'll meet you where you are. Their presence will not pull you out of alignment with yourself. It will anchor you deeper into it. Because love that is chosen by God doesn't thrive on distance or drama. It thrives on mutual recognition. It feels less like chasing and more like arriving. There is a quiet knowing, a sense of, I don't have to perform here. I just have to be. But many of us have been taught the opposite. We've been conditioned to think that love worth having must be hard, that the person who runs from us is the one we must chase, that their lack of effort means we should try harder. And in that endless trying, we forget to notice the toll it takes, the way it steals our peace, our confidence, our sense of self. Chasing love becomes a full-time job, one that leaves no room for joy, no room for rest, no room for reciprocity. Because when you're chasing someone, you're always behind them. You can't hold hands when one is running and the other is walking away. Real love, the one that's meant for you, meets you halfway. It doesn't make you question your place, it reassures it. It doesn't make you prove your worth. It already sees it. There's an ease, a steadiness, a rhythm that feels familiar, even sacred. You don't feel like you're trying to win someone over. You feel like you've found someone who understands the language of your soul without needing translation. And that is how you know it's not a chase, it's a calling. When God sends someone for you, you won't feel like you have to run to keep their attention. You won't wake up analyzing every word, replaying every moment, wondering if you said too much or too little. You'll feel seen, known, and valued, even in your stillness. Because the love that is meant for you will not make you chase it. It will teach you to stand still and receive it. And that is the kind of love that doesn't drain you, it restores you. There's a moment in every relationship where you realize whether you're being loved for how you perform or for who you are. It's subtle, but it's powerful. You can feel it when someone listens only to respond, when their affection depends on how well you meet their expectations, when love feels like a stage where you must constantly play the right part to keep the applause going. And slowly, without even noticing, you start to edit yourself. You hide your vulnerability. You suppress the parts of you that feel inconvenient. You begin to trade authenticity for acceptance, hoping that if you play the role well enough, love will stay. But the person God sends for you will never ask you to shrink to be loved. They will not fall for the version of you that performs. They will fall for the one that feels. They will see the parts of you that others overlooked, the quiet, thoughtful parts, the uncertain, wounded parts. And instead of turning away, they will lean in closer, because to them, your imperfections aren't flaws to be fixed, they're truth to be witnessed. This kind of love doesn't demand perfection, it invites presence. We live in a world obsessed with image. We curate, we filter, we present. We measure our worth in likes, our beauty in comparison, our value in validation. But love that's real doesn't require a performance. It's not impressed by the act. It's moved by the honesty behind it. The one who is meant for you won't love the idea of you. They will love the reality of you. They'll see the tension between your strength and your softness, your faith and your fear, and still choose you in the middle of that contradiction. That's what divine love looks like. It doesn't just see your light, it understands your shadow. And when that kind of love enters your life, something shifts. You begin to breathe differently. You stop waiting for the next rejection, the next disappointment, the next time you'll be told you're too much or not enough. You realize you no longer have to translate your emotions or justify your needs. You can simply exist. You can speak, and someone actually hears you. Not just your words, but the silence between them. That's when love starts to heal what performance once hid. The right person doesn't love you because of what you give them. They love you because of how they feel when they're around you. They don't need you to be more. They just need you to be. And in that space of being truly seen, you rediscover parts of yourself that you had long buried under the weight of trying too hard. You begin to remember that you are lovable not because you fit someone's ideal, but because you are already whole, already chosen, already worthy. When love is right, you don't have to play a part. You finally get to live your truth and be loved in it. There is a deep exhaustion that comes from always needing to be understood by someone who isn't really listening. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from shouting, but from explaining yourself over and over, trying to make someone see your heart when they're only half looking. It's that subtle ache that comes from being with someone who hears your words but never catches your meaning. And so you start overcompensating, repeating, defending, performing the truth of who you are, hoping that maybe this time they'll finally understand. But love that is right for you doesn't make you beg to be understood. It doesn't turn communication into negotiation. It simply sees you. When the person God sends for you enters your life, the need for constant validation begins to fade. You no longer feel the pressure to convince them of your worth because they already recognize it. You don't have to explain why you think or feel a certain way. They intuitively understand your emotional language. Their listening is not strategic. It's compassionate. They're not waiting for their turn to speak. They're waiting to know you. And that difference changes everything. Validation seeks approval. Understanding seeks connection. When you're with someone who truly sees you, the conversation is no longer about who's right. It becomes about what's real. You feel a sense of safety that allows you to stop defending yourself. You stop needing to be perfect or always agreeable or constantly strong. You can finally exhale and say, "This is me," and know that you won't be punished for it. That's what divine love does. It doesn't demand that you earn acceptance. It offers it freely. There's something sacred about being understood without having to explain every detail. It's not that the right person will always get it right. They won't. But even in misunderstanding, their intention is never to diminish you. They'll ask, they'll clarify, they'll want to know how to love you better. Because understanding isn't about agreement, it's about curiosity. It's about caring enough to learn the shape of another soul. And when that happens, communication stops being a battlefield. It becomes a bridge. You'll notice that your anxiety starts to soften in their presence. You won't feel that familiar urge to defend your emotions or justify your needs. You'll begin to trust that you are safe to be as you are, even in moments of confusion or conflict. Because love that understands doesn't retreat when things get difficult. It leans in. It listens deeper. It remembers that you are not the argument, you are the person within it. And this is how you'll know when it's divine, when your heart no longer aches for constant reassurance, when you stop seeking proof and start resting in presence, when understanding becomes the new language of love. Because when the right person sees you, you'll realize you never needed validation, only to be truly known. There are seasons in life when love seems just out of reach. You meet people who feel almost right, almost ready, almost meant for you. But somehow it never settles. It never becomes what you hoped it would be. And in those moments, it's easy to believe that something is wrong with you, or that you missed your chance, or that God forgot about your heart. But sometimes the delay isn't a denial, it's divine protection. Sometimes God's not yet is His way of saying, you're still becoming the person who can hold what you're asking for. We often think love is about timing in the world's sense, being in the right place at the right moment. But divine timing is different. It's not about coincidence, it's about readiness. You can meet a good person at the wrong time and still lose yourself trying to make it fit. Because if you haven't learned to love yourself without fear, you will always build relationships that test that very lesson. God doesn't withhold love to punish you. He withholds it to prepare you. He waits until you've grown into the kind of wholeness that won't settle for almost. There are people you were meant to meet, not to marry, but to mature. They were there to show you what you needed to heal, to awaken something you had buried, or to teach you how not to abandon yourself in the name of affection. And though it hurt, their presence was part of your preparation. Because when love that's truly meant for you arrives, it will not need you to compromise your peace to keep it. It will recognize the lessons you've learned, and it will honor the wisdom that came from every wound. Waiting can be one of the hardest parts of faith, especially when your heart longs to be seen, to be chosen, to be held. But waiting with trust is different from waiting in fear. Waiting with trust says, I believe that God is working even when I don't see movement. It says, I believe that what is meant for me cannot miss me. And in that space of surrender, your heart becomes stronger, your discernment sharper, and your peace deeper. Because you're no longer chasing timing, you're aligning with it. When the right person comes, you'll notice that the connection won't feel rushed or forced. It will feel like recognition. You won't have to fight to be understood or prove that you're worthy of commitment. You'll feel a quiet certainty, not born of excitement, but of peace. And that peace is the signature of divine timing. The waiting will finally make sense, not because of who showed up, but because of who you became in the process. God's timing is never late. It's precise, intentional, and loving. And when that love finally finds you, you'll understand why every delay, every heartbreak, and every unanswered prayer was necessary. Because the love that is meant for you will not arrive when you're desperate. It will arrive when you're ready. There is something profoundly telling about the difference between love that excites you and love that calms you. Many of us grew up believing that the butterflies, the tension, the constant guessing, those were signs of passion, of chemistry, of something real. But over time, you begin to realize that what we often call excitement is sometimes just anxiety dressed as affection. It's that feeling of not knowing where you stand, of always waiting for the next text, the next reassurance, the next moment that might make it all feel stable again. And when you live like that long enough, peace begins to feel unfamiliar. You mistake calm for boredom, and you start chasing the chaos that once made you feel alive. But the person God sends for you will not leave you wondering. Their love will not make you question your worth or your place in their life. It will not leave you awake at night analyzing what went wrong or what you need to do to be chosen again tomorrow. Their love will feel steady. It will bring clarity. It will bring peace. not because it lacks depth or intensity, but because it is grounded in something real. It doesn't fluctuate based on moods or fears. It rests on trust. Peace is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of safety. When you are with the right person, your nervous system doesn't have to stay on alert. You don't walk on eggshells waiting for the next argument or cold silence. You begin to relax into the rhythm of something mutual, something mature. You start to realize that love isn't meant to be a test you keep taking. It's a truth you keep living. And that kind of love doesn't drain you. It fills you. When you're used to relationships that require you to fight for connection, peace can feel suspicious. You might find yourself thinking, "This is too easy. Something must be wrong." But that's just the echo of your past trying to interrupt your healing. Because when you've been conditioned to survive in emotional chaos, stability feels like a foreign language. The work, then, is to relearn what love is supposed to feel like, to understand that peace is not a lack of passion. It's the foundation that allows it to flourish. When love is divinely aligned, peace becomes the proof. You no longer measure love by how intense it feels, but by how safe it allows you to be. You stop seeking fireworks and start seeking warmth, the kind of warmth that lasts, that stays, that steadies you when life feels uncertain. And in that kind of love, you begin to see God's fingerprints all over it, not in grand gestures, but in quiet moments where your soul exhales and whispers, "This feels right." Because the right love doesn't make you restless, it teaches you how to rest. Sometimes we search for love with our eyes wide open, looking for signs, for gestures, for all the right words. We listen to what people say, we measure their promises, we cling to their potential. But the truth is, the person God sends for you will not be known by how well they perform love in words, but by how their presence makes you feel. Words can be rehearsed, but presence cannot be faked. The heart knows what it feels, even when the mind can't explain it. When you meet the one who is meant for you, something inside you settles. There is no performance, no convincing, no waiting for them to become ready. You simply recognize something familiar in their energy, a peace that feels like home. Real love doesn't announce itself with noise. It reveals itself in consistency. It's not about grand confessions or sweeping declarations. It's in how they show up when no one is watching. It's in how they remember what matters to you, how they listen without rushing to fix, how they hold space for your fears without judgment. You begin to notice that love is not just something they give, it's something they are. And being near them doesn't amplify your insecurities. It quiets them. You don't feel the need to earn their affection. You feel safe enough to receive it. You see, you'll recognize divine love not by intensity, but by resonance. It won't be the spark that burns bright and fades. It will be the steady warmth that lingers long after the words have faded. It will feel strangely familiar, as if you've known this person before, not because you actually have, but because your soul recognizes something eternal in them. Their presence won't overwhelm you, it will ground you. You'll notice that you can breathe easier, laugh more freely, speak more honestly. And for the first time, love won't feel like losing yourself. It will feel like coming home to yourself. This kind of connection isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's not that you'll never disagree or misunderstand each other. It's that even in conflict, there's an underlying sense of safety. You know you're on the same team. You know they're not going anywhere when things get hard. There's a depth of commitment that words alone could never capture. And that is the difference between someone who talks about love and someone who embodies it. When love is from God, it doesn't need to shout to prove its presence. It speaks in stillness, in trust, in the way your spirit recognizes something it's been waiting for. You won't have to question it, dissect it, or chase it. You will simply know. Because when it's the person God sent for you, their presence will not just touch your heart, it will bring your soul to peace.